All right, I got Sean Herrero here with me. And Sean, I want to tell you that my perception of you is that you're a guy who has fun in your life, but also fun in your business.
Yeah,
How do you keep it fun? What is that? What is that mindset? What is your attitude about that?
I love a challenge and I love what we do. It's not always fun, but I don't know how to answer that question. I just
How
love
do you,
what we do.
so sometimes I wonder when people aren't having fun, if they don't have perspective, like if they've never really had a job that sucks
Yep.
or have been really broke or had no freedom or autonomy or control or the ability to go out and do what they want to do. So what did you do prior to mortgage? And did anything give you that perspective prior to becoming a loan officer?
Actually, I think you hit it. Going broke will give you good perspective. And I went broke in 2016, and I've been in mortgage since I was 19 years old. And what I did before I became an originator in 2017, I was a wholesale rep for most of my time, and then I did business development from 2010 to 2016, and went broke and realized that I don't want to feel this way. And I think that if you won't push yourself out of your comfort zone, God will. And that's what happened to me. It was like, all right, you have no choice at this point. Like your life's over. And I started doing this January 2017, and it was just one of those like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing moments.
So from wholesale rep to loan officer, actually jumping in the seat, I can't wait to talk about the journey because, as a rainmaker, you identify more as a trust builder. And you told me that your weakest is actually networking. And so I got to think, when you were being a wholesale rep, isn't that all about networking?
Man, back then it was, it 03, 04, 05, it was like the party, but I was never into that. Like I wasn't the guy that got to go golfing and screw around all the time as a wholesale rep. I've always been a worker. Like I've never known how to not work. I worked from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like I just did it, but I was always a problem solver. And I think the reason I was successful in wholesale was because I could find solutions to just about anything. And that translates into to me now, like instead of solving problems for loan officers, I'm solving problems for real estate agents and buyers. And I love it. That's the fun part. But yeah, the introvert in me just wants to sit and solve problems. And once I know someone, I can talk to them, but I'm not good at it outside of that.
All right. So you're a guy who's closed over $100 million as a loan officer, a very small team. You're in Danville, California. So in the Bay, it's highly competitive. You've got a very intelligent consumer base there. I'm sure you get shopped to death. Everybody wishes they had big loans until they deal with those kind of borrowers. And you deal with a lot of them. Since COVID, you've really consistently stayed over 100 million, doing about 12 loans a month, 100 loans a year. So you're in the weeds, you're in the game. One of the reasons I wanted to choose you for the podcast is because I think everybody wants to live in their power zone and be authentically themselves. And every time I've had the privilege of being around you, Sean, I just feel like you're you. You have a hat on backwards, or you're wearing your Vans, or you're working out of your Sprinter van, but you're keeping it real. And I'm wondering, has that always been the case for you? Have you always been able to come from a place of authenticity, or was that a conscious choice?
It was, I've always wanted to, but it was a conscious choice. So, early on, it was always not suit and tie, but like business casual, like slacks and loafers and button down shirt. And I didn't understand why what I wore made a difference in how good I was at what I did. But it was just what you had to do. Right. And I think the progression was, okay, maybe I don't have to wear a suit every day. Maybe I can wear a button up and jeans. And then, really COVID kind of set me free, where it was like, I'm on Zooms all day anyways. I used to wear a white t-shirt, but I felt a black t-shirt was a little bit more professional. So I switched it up and nobody cared. And there was a pivotal moment in that. So I started originating in 2017. I posted a picture on Facebook around Halloween, and it was just like when all those like funny suits were really trending. Yeah. And I'll say I was one of the first dudes to wear those. And I had one on that was just $100 bills head to toe. And I posted this picture and I was like, look, I'm a mortgage. And I thought it was funny. And my buddy goes, hey, you might want to take that down. What if some rich guy in Carmel sees it, wants to do a $2 million loan with you, and he thinks you're a goofball and he doesn't use you? And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, I need to take that down. And I went into Facebook to delete it. And I looked at the comments and the engagement, and everyone thought it was funny and saw it as a joke as I saw it. And I went, you know what? If somebody doesn't want to use me because of this, we're probably not meant for each other anyways. And I went, I'm just going to go all in on being me. Like, I will attract the people that I'm supposed to serve faster, and I will repel the ones that I probably wouldn't have worked well with anyways by just being me. And that was that pivotal moment.
Okay. So what did that kind of look like? So this is year one, is being your own loan officer, and you're now going out there hunting for business. You're not on the wholesale side. So when you said, I'm going all in on being me, what were some of the key decisions that you were making?
So I learned about, I'm going to say Mortgage Coach just to kind of start this off, because I knew of Mortgage Coach before I started originating. Somebody at the company I worked for, they asked me to introduce Dave Savage on stage because they had just done their agreement with Mortgage Coach. And I was like, who's Dave Savage and what's Mortgage Coach? They're like, oh, it's this really cool software. We just signed up for it. It's this and that. Go say how great it is. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't know what it is yet. Right. And so I didn't do it. And then Dave went up and did his song and dance. And I went, oh my gosh, I need to use this. And at that point it was, I want to do this so I can help mortgage advisors be better. Right. Because this is really cool. Bought it on my own dime, not the enterprise version, and just got up at 4 a.m. and like played with it, like messed around. I say that because when I became an originator, my mom was an originator. She got into mortgage 6 months before I did. And my best friend was an originator. So friends and family is out, right? So I like presenting. I think part of being a wholesale rep made me very comfortable presenting to groups. So I was like, I need to get in front of real estate agents. And in my backyard in the like East Bay in California, I was quote unquote too techie. So I was down in Silicon Valley. So I was driving down to Silicon Valley, working with all the real estate agents down there, because all the engineers at Facebook and Apple loved my approach because it was such a data nerd approach. Those were my people. And it was great. And then in 2018, started doing the give us your money and we'll give you a lower rate game. And I started losing a ton, right? It's like I'm losing 40 or 60% of the time. This doesn't feel good. I don't want to feel like this. So I have to shift and move markets. But I was unwilling to change my approach. Like, if I'm too techie for Danville, then I'll go somewhere else, but I'm not going to dumb it down to meet the market. Now, of course, everyone's techie now. Like, I'm not techie enough at this point.
And I got to imagine there was something that had to click in for you. You know, a lot of people call it confidence. You can meet that person that just has swagger. They've got that magnetic, attractive twinkle, and you've had it from the moment I met you. And I feel like that's when somebody's being authentic. That's when somebody says, I know who I am. I'm comfortable with who I am. And I know that I'm the right guy for the job. And so was this utilization of Mortgage Coach something that helps you click into, I am worthy, I'm a good guy, like not just from a character perspective, but like I'm good at this job?
Yes. Yeah. So thank you, first of all, because I don't think I'm confident in anything other than this. I'm just not. But I think because I was a top wholesale rep that was in the weeds underwriting loans, I have confidence and I know how to underwrite and put deals together, right? So I could go out to the market knowing that if you send me a deal, it's 100% closing. There's a 0 chance it won't, right? And then I'm a marketer at the same time. So I'm not a salesperson, I'm a marketer. And the reason I loved using Mortgage Coach is, and I guess this is part of my authenticity, was when I went broke because I would take what I thought were great ideas to mortgage people that I should get paid on. And if they did more volume, I would make more money. Right. But if I pour my heart and soul into others and they don't do anything, I don't control the outcome. And I realized I was too far away from the dollar. I want to be closer to the dollar. Mortgage advisors were closer to the dollar. And so I said, and it was very salesy. Like, there's somebody up here that had their license plate, like on their Lambo, said FHA VA. It's just cheesy. And I hated, and as a wholesale rep, I would hear like these salesy, oh, they're not in contract, so I can lie about the rate. I'll just tell them what it actually is later. Like stuff like that, manipulating fees. And I started using Mortgage Coach and I was like, okay, my approach is going to be as authentic as I possibly can, provide everyone with full disclosure, full transparency, 0 sales. Now I am arrogantly confident in that I'm doing that. And Mortgage Coach will allow me to call my industry out on its BS. And I loved it. And I still to this day loved talking about stuff that is, I would say, salesy and gimmicky in our industry and calling it out. I thrive on that because nobody should be sold anything. They should be served, in my opinion.
Now we got you on a roll, baby. Because that's your power zone. What happens, I think, is when you click into your belief and you even click into things that piss you off and you want to do something about them in the world, that's when you light it on fire. So I got to ask, how did you go broke when you were a top wholesale rep? What happened there?
So as a top wholesale rep, I had my best year in 2010. I worked at Countrywide through the whole thing. Countrywide turned into B of A. I was finally at a company that did the types of loans I really wanted to do. It wasn't, not an option arm is a great loan for the right people, but it was for everyone at that point, which it shouldn't have been. And I felt like I was thriving, and B of A came out and said, hey, we are going to have premier brokers. Premier brokers will get a 0.25% lower rate. Here's the metrics. And I went to the 30 I worked with and said, here's the deal. I will only work with premier brokers. Here's the standards. We have 6 months to get to this point. And then, B of A being B of A, 6 months becomes 9, becomes 12. They didn't get there. And once we had rolled that out, I was down to 6.
Wow.
And I was making more money with less people than I ever had. And then B of A said, hey, we're only going to pay you on the first 10 million per month from each of your brokers. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, you just pushed us to do this whole thing. And now you just take the rug out from under me. At the same time, a mortgage banker was recruiting me to do business development. Like, hey, we want you to come do wholesale for us, right? Like, just be internal. We are not going to do wholesale, but be a wholesale rep to all of our people and make them better. And he's like, wholesale is going to die. And at that time, I was like, well, you're right. Because it was RPM mortgage. So it's like, if somebody can get a Bank of America loan through RPM, B of A gets the end result that they want without the risk or overhead.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. And then sure enough, I switched jobs and B of A does eventually, I think the next year, close wholesale. So it was going great. But then the same thing happened. I'm only as good as the people I bring on. Right. And then Sean's making money. Okay, now let's pay Sean less. And every October was the same thing of comp restructure. And I just stayed hopeful and faithful that it would, people would see my value. I know I'm worth it. I know I'm doing good things, but I keep losing. And I kind of knew in my soul that it was time to jump to this side, but I'd never done it. Right. And it got to that point where the next October, hey, sorry, we're changing your comp. And I just was like, okay, I have no more money. I have no savings. IRA withdrawals are tapping out. Something's got to give. I went to my wife in November of 2016 and I said, I'm so sick of this. We deserve better. I don't have value. The job I do is no longer of value, no matter what I think, because the market is spoken, right?
Right.
And so I jumped on this side and she goes, what do you mean? You've never done this? This is all you know. And I'm like, well, I know more than everyone else. And I'm sick of these mortgage advisors anyway. So I'm just going to do it myself. And I'm going to call our industry out on its nonsense. And that was the pivotal moment for me. And then, January of 2017, she tells me she's pregnant as I'm starting a new career.
With your third child.
Yep.
So you've got 3 boys. Mm-hmm. And you said they're 21, 17, and 7. So you've got the space with each of them.
Yeah.
All with your wife. You've been together for 23 years. So she's been through the whole mortgage ride with you, which what a journey it's been.
Yeah.
What do you hope to show your boys through the way that you work and the way that you treat customers? And, I think a lot of us feel a lot of guilt about what we do because this business is a 24/7 business. It also is a lot of stress. We also are on the phone a lot when we should be at the rodeo or at a baseball game. How have you balanced that? And what are you trying to show them in terms of being a leader and a father and a worker?
I really love that question. I felt like I failed with my oldest because I was 21 when I had him. I had just kind of started making a little bit of money in this business, but you don't have a choice. I also think when you're in a position that you have no, failure is absolutely not an option. You do what you have to do. And I'm a little bit of an addictive personality, and I am addicted to what we do. I love doing this. And there's a video, I was going through this shoebox of like those little tapes that we used to have. And like we actually had to put in a camera, and I was going to get them all converted. And I found one, and it was me walking my son to either kindergarten or first grade. And my wife was filming us, and he's like so nervous. It's his first day, and he's like holding onto my hand. And my demeanor is just like angry, and I didn't want to be there. I started crying when I was watching the video. Oh. And I was like, this is who I was to my son. And it broke me. And then I couldn't really let go of that. And we were in Hawaii a couple of years ago, and my son's an entrepreneur. He's a YouTuber. He's doing incredibly well. And he said, we're in the car, and he just goes, Dad's a hustler. Like, Dad is completely self-made, this and that. And what I thought he saw was not the reality. He saw something in me that I didn't. And that was like, that was another like tearjerker moment where I was just like, oh my gosh, like maybe I didn't fail. Like and I guess the lesson there is your kids are watching you, right? Like they're watching us. And even, you might think that you're grinding and you're not doing the right thing because you're on that phone call or whatever it is. But I think that my kids have a solid work ethic because they watched me have a solid work ethic. Yeah.
What about your childhood has caused you to have this drive and want to be self-made?
So I didn't grow up. We didn't have a lot when I was growing up. My dad was blue collar worker. I was told that people with Mercedes are the scum of the earth. Yuppies are the worst thing ever. People with money are the problem. Get a job, pay your rent. And that's kind of life. And when I got into mortgage, I was sitting. So I wanted to be a forest ranger or a game warden is what I wanted to do. I love being outside. Wanted to make 40 grand a year from the government and just live in the woods. Went to school for that for a minute, decided that wasn't for me, came back, didn't know what I wanted to do. My mom had just gotten into this, and I said, maybe I should do whatever you're doing because my little brother, who's 11 years younger than me, seems to have a way better childhood than I do. And she had just gotten in, right? So she goes, this guy at Washington Mutual needs an assistant. Go look into that. And this guy completely took a chance on me. He was the number one wholesale rep in the country, Don Emerson. Thank you forever, Don. He took a chance on me. I had plugs in my ears, just this little punk rock kid. And I remember sitting next to him one time, and he was on the phone with someone, and he said how much money he made that year. And it was jaw dropping to me. Like, I thought if you made 100 grand a year, that was like as good as life gets. And I heard what he said, and I was just like, people can make that money. And it wasn't the money that drove me, but it was, I got addicted to this job. And then when you can see what life can be, I want to make a lot of money. I still of course I want to make a lot of money. But I don't want it for show. I want it for freedom. Like, I want to go do what I want on my own terms. Like, you're not going to ever see me with a fancy watch or car, but you'll see me having a lot of fun because money gives you freedom.
That's fantastic. And were mom and dad married when she got in the mortgage business?
No. So my mom and my stepdad were, he got in when I was 9. He's an amazing human. He was in tech, and my mom was kind of in tech before she jumped into the mortgage side of things. Yeah, but it was pretty, middle class once we were together. But, and the other thing that drove me is when I got into this and I told my dad about the, how much money my boss at the time had said he had made, he was just like, you're not going to be able to do that. Like, you think you can do these things. And I wanted to prove him wrong. And I still love proving people wrong. I think the reason I like trying to do as much volume as I do without adding a lot of teammates is I want to remove the excuse that mortgage advisors have for themselves of why they can't do it. Because if I can do it, okay, you don't need a big team. Like Hunter Marcourt used to always be the example. I could do that volume if I had a team like Hunter's, but the company won't pay for me to have the team. And I'm like, well, you got to show up first. They're not just going to invest in you for no reson. And so it's like, okay, now you don't have an excuse. If I can do it by myself with my team of 3 or 2, why can't you? And that's that I really thrive on, I guess I'll call it leading by example, but it's I like proving people wrong.
Yeah. It's a little bit despite, I'm making
100%.
it despite the fact that I had a kid at 21 and despite the fact that my dad said I can't do it. And despite the fact that I was a wholesale rep and, it's a really strong motivator. And I think, whatever it is that you can tune into your fuel. And then I think I sense both, I call that sometimes deficiency motivated, Sean, because it does drive us, right? Like, watch me, watch me, watch me. And then at some point, if we don't really see it for what it is, it can take over, right? And what we do. But I see this other side of you that is so freedom motivated, that is also about doing the right thing by people and taking care of people and building something special and, being a man of connection with your kids. And so it's good, you guys, to have both. To be deficiency motivated, because sometimes that fire is what we need to stay in the battle and to overcome. You mentioned in so many words about control, that maybe you had control issues, that that this is about control, that you didn't want to be tied to somebody else's efforts for your outcomes, that you wanted to sit in the driver's seat of your life and be self-made and go out and make it happen and get closer to the dollar. What do you think have been the negatives and positives of being a guy that's like, I got to be in control?
Well, I didn't want to be in control, but I realized I didn't have a choice. I realized I wasn't in control once I had no money, because my efforts didn't lead to an immediate reward. There was a middle person in the middle. If I put out the effort and that person didn't, I didn't get a reward. They didn't, but they didn't care because they didn't want to try. And I can't get the reward unless you try. And I got sick of investing in other people. I didn't get sick of it because I still, in my heart, it's the thing I want to do, but I can't do it if I'm not going to make any money. Like, my family should not suffer because my heart is into investing in other people.
As you're saying this, a lot of people are like, yeah, that's what it feels like prospecting to realtors. So I've got to ask you, in 2024, closing 104 million, 105 million. I know that you've had to adapt. I know you've had to chase new accounts. I know you've had to hustle your ass off like you've always done for 19 years in this business. But how do you see it differently with realtors? Because in essence, we now put that buyer in their control, right? We now hope that they go out and do the work and find the leads and refer them to us. Do you see that differently, or you kind of surrender to that part of it?
I see it different because I'm not reliant on this group of realtors. I can go to any realtor I want, anywhere I want. So if people choose not to invest in themselves, that's okay. I'm here when you decide to. Like, you'll make money faster if you have me as your lender. But if you're not into it right now, that's fine. I have all these other people that I partner with. And then I have ones that, of course, I want to grow with. And there's always more. Realtors are coming and going. I think the scarcity mindset is like, the market shifts. My number one realtor is not my number one realtor. Oh, they chose a different lender. Cool, dude. Different phase of life. Move on. Like, let's just go find who you're supposed to be helping and serving right now. I think for me, the authenticity piece really comes into play on this topic, because I've never called 40 realtors on a Monday. Like, I've never done the things you're supposed to do, because that style, while it is for a lot of people, it wasn't for me. I'm going to embrace who I am and work in a way that I feel best, instead of doing what works well for someone else. And so for me, if I don't believe I'm a salesperson, I'm a marketer, I need to teach real estate agents how to market. I need to show them how they can get their clients into contract faster by creating confident buy. Like, I need to do these things. And because I believe these to my core, it's very easy to reach out to agents to do this. And so my entire business is realtor referral. As much as I've tried for it not to be, it's the way for me.
Let's talk a little bit just about the numbers. How many agents do you think you've met with over Zoom or face-to-face or for a coffee and said, hey, I want to know about you. I want to see if we're right to partner together or grow together. Just, I don't know. It's pointless to go all the way back to 2017, but just over the last 2 years, how many realtors do you think that you say, I've met with this person, they like me, I like them? How many people are you prospecting to?
I mean, probably hundreds. Because I like presenting. So I'm doing a webinar tomorrow that 100 realtors will be on, because I went to Tom Ferry and figured out how to take the overwhelm of incredible ideas and make it actionable. So, like, I don't want you to do this thing and not take action on it. And if you didn't make it to the event, I'll show you what you missed. So for me, being the insecure person that I am, I'm very scared to make 40 phone calls, but I'm not scared to get in front of a room of 100 people. And then within that room go, okay, these 10 people, we kicked it off pretty well. And hopefully all 100, I'm like, dang, this guy's smart. I need to use him as my lender. That's how I look at it. I don't ask for referrals. I want to show value. I want people to work with me because they think that I am going to make their clients' experience the absolute best experience possible. That's it for me. I don't ask for referrals. I don't ask, what kind of coffee you like. I'll have it ready for you because I'm going to be there 10 minutes before you get there. That's just not, that's not for me. So I embrace what is for me. I have another example of that. The short form videos that hit like in 2021, right? Neil figures out this formula. Everyone's doing it. Hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of followers. I jump on him and doing it in that style, and I'm not catching on the way that other people were from my perspective, right? So how come this guy has this many followers? How come they like his videos better than mine? And then I talked to one of these guys one time. He's like, dude, I haven't closed a loan in 2 months. And I was like, wait, what? Like, how is that possible? And I was like, well, I've never had that problem. And then I realized, Sean, you're doing what you always said not to do. And so I reflected back and said, what did I do that got me to this point? Like, what did I do that made me do 220 million in 2021? That was a number I never, ever imagined as being like in the realm of possibility. And I was like, Sean, you did videos with your own purpose, not the way everyone else does it. And you did in-person presentations. So just go do those things that you're good at and don't worry about the rest, and it'll fall where it's supposed to. And I of course, there's always little shiny things that we get attracted to, but I always come back to those two things. Those are my two things.
What does it mean to you to be a rainmaker?
A rainmaker to me is somebody who is like the team leader, right? That shows people how to do it, that can bring in tons of leads and then kind of like push those down into a team of people. So they're not in the weeds in the transactions. Maybe a little bit, but not a lot. They're more focused on building relationships, bringing clients in the door, and making sure that their team is there. Like, that's what you've always been to me. Like, from running a team to a region to a country, like, you're a rainmaker in my eyes.
Well, thank you for saying that. And what's really cool about this conversation is I asked you ahead, what was your archetype? And you identified as a trust builder. And I'm going to say, you are a technician primarily. Being an underwriter and solving people's problems and thinking creatively and outside of the box has been your primary value to people and building trust. And like, that's what you can control. So you've learned to market, you've learned to be a presenter, you've learned how to do all these different things. But I think your natural style is actually as a technician. And by the way, Sean, that's mine too. For the first 6 years of my career, I never left my desk. I was I was just always available, always fast. I did everything on my own. I never had a team, super control freak. I even signed the documents at escrow because I could do it better than the escrow officer, apparently. And that's where I got my confidence, was just like you with your mortgage coach presentations, was in a pre-approval meeting, I could figure out how to uncover and unlock the fears, hopes, dreams, concerns, and then educate somebody in a very simple way. Like, my first mortgage coach was actually in the back of a manila folder. Okay. And the manila folder had 3 options. And I'm saying, here's this option with rate and payment. Here's this option with rate and payment. Here's this option with rate and payment and closing costs. Based on your goals, this is the one that I recommend. And I'm circling the one 32 times, and they're going, sounds good, let's lock it. And so I think the transition from being in your natural archetype to being a rainmaker is, how do you scale what you do? And so, Sean, you're 100% a certified rainmaker, okay? Because being able to be a technician, if you went to Tom Ferry, sat in the audience, took a bunch of notes and said, how can I use my technical brain that can see complex information and make it simple, and that can take overwhelm into actionable items and then teach us in a webinar? That's you being a technician on steroids. That's you using one to many and leverage to bring one message to 100 people. Okay. Yeah. So you're absolutely doing it. Where you're at now to maybe the next step would be, you've got people doing a little bit more of the in the weeds part of it. That's been your struggle a little bit. It's like, how do I let go of the tax return and is that still the case? Or because for you, I remember 2 years ago, you telling me, Shay, we're doing 300 deals this year and it's me and my sister. That's it. And you have a processor. But in terms of front end team, are you still, you and your sister, rocking 100 50 deals, or where are you at with your team?
Yeah. So it hasn't changed. And another fear of mine is I never want to have to lay anybody off. And I think again, 2017, I was the new guy. 18, 19 year building. 2019, I did 75 million. 2020, I did 150 million. But going 2020, it was these rates are only going to be here for 2 weeks. So let's just grind this together. The three of us are just going to grind this out. Okay, can't go on forever. Can't go on forever. Now, then 2 years later, right? Yeah. So I never scaled because I was like, if I hire somebody, it's going to end and I'm going to have to lay somebody off. And I don't ever want to experience that. And so we just did it this way and it's worked out, but my goal is to get back to 220 million with our little team in a normal market, in a market like this. Now, if you can do 200 million in this market, you can do 200 million in any market. I'll never have to worry about laying someone off.
Yes.
So I'm still doing it. And I think you're right. I am definitely a technician, but I was like blessed to have both right and left brain. Like I am super artsy, creative. That's the marketing side. And then I have the technician side. Like the event that I do in Orange County, it's day one is all marketing. Day two is all execution. I think you have to have both. My next phase is to scale. Like the short answer is 100%. I can't continue to it's not sustainable for me to do this by myself forever. I want to grow and I want other people to thrive. Like this isn't just about me. I want other people, like right now it's, hey, maybe I can inspire other people to get after it because they say, well, if Sean can do it, I can do it. But maybe at some point, the inspiration is I'm doing it with Sean, using it, like becoming what I see you as a rainmaker.
I think that next level I call a change maker. And a change maker is really somebody who's dialing in system and process and leading and finding people to optimize their strengths. Some people don't want to be left brain and right brain. Some people don't want to be crazy frazzled like we are. And 1 minute we're in a marketing thing and the next minute we're solving a tax return issue and all of those things. And I think that's one of the challenges is the ego kicks in and says, well, I know I'm just a weirdo and I know how my brain is on overdrive all the time. And I don't know if I can find another me. Mm-hmm. And what I found is a lot of people want to be helpers and supporters. Like their whole lives revolve around being a supporter and a helper. They don't need the main spotlight. They don't need to be self-made in there. They want stability. They want security. They want to feel seen, loved, and valued. And so the way I think about hiring teammates now is how can I bless them? How can this be a 2-year experience? Just like you gave the credit to, was it Don Emerson or Dan?
Yeah.
So
Don Emerson. Yeah.
Don changed your life, but he wasn't guaranteeing you a future forever with you never being laid off and the mortgage industry never going through ups and downs. All he did is he saw your eagerness and he saw a kid who was willing to work and who paid attention and who got it and said, I will pour into this guy. So the way that I flipped it on my head from being a control freak is how I'm being selfish by staying small. How am I holding my gifts and the things that I know how to do by not blessing somebody else with a W-2 salary and teaching them how to do it? Yes, they're going to take things off of my plate, but I'm not just hiring somebody so I can go be lazy. Because see, that's another thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like hire them because of what you can give them and because you can serve the client better. Like I guarantee out of these 100 people that are going to see you on this webinar, 90 of them want to work with you, Sean, but you don't have the ability to follow up with them. Right. So in that way, you're showing them a promised land, but then making it hard for them to be able to work with you probably because there's like, how do you do all that? So I'm just excited to see what you do because you've said, I'm ready. Like I'm scaling now. I'm sick of it. What is that drive? Like, what's that story that's telling you I'm time for me to go to the next level?
I need to have more freedom in personal life. It's hard for me because I don't like turning this off. Here's this is a good example. I don't know. Ryan Grant and I were at dinner last year and he goes, when was the last time you took like a vacation, like 7 days without working? And I thought about it and I was like, I don't know, but I don't want to. Like I envision that in my head. It's just not my phase of life yet. Like I love my 4-day trips to Cabo, but like 7 days off, no, zero part of me wants that right now. And that was an interesting thing, right? Like to realize about yourself of like, wow, you don't want that. That being said, I was supposed to go to Italy for a wedding last year, and I had panic and anxiety because I'm like, I don't want to go to Italy unless I know I can be present and be free. And so it's like, it's this like torment, right? So for me, this scale is coming from a place of like, maybe it is time to give myself a little freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what happened for me? My right-hand loan partner, I'll never forget, this is back in 2012, maybe. And I'm going to go on my first surf vacation in El Salvador at Las Flores. So epic. We have to sidebar conversation this. And I said, okay, so like how many times a day do you want me to check in? What time of day should I check in? And she goes, none. And I was like, what? Like none? And she's like, none. And I remember going, okay, if I actually check in and I start answering the emails or doing whatever, I'm actually going to demonstrate that I don't trust you. And I actually have profound trust. Like, I don't think you're a big ego guy at all, Sean. Like, nobody can do this. But a lot of times our behavior suggests that we have a big ego, like that nobody could do it as better than us, or you can't handle this, so I'm going to keep getting involved. And so a big lesson for me is when I moved to Spain for a while, I was like, this is really giving people space to grow. If I keep staying here and I'm on top of everything, they're stifled. Mm-hmm. And that's the opposite of what you and I want. It's why we wanted to be loan officers in the beginning, because it's limitless growth and no one's going to stand in our way of whatever we want to do. Yet then we have a team and then we stifle on top of them because of our own deserved issues or our own love and obsession or our own whatever. So, yeah, I'm excited for you to carve out more freedom for yourself because it creates opportunity for others.
No, I appreciate that. Well, we have our little cross-country trip at the end of the month, and I'm it's longer than I've been gone, and I'm really going to try and like let go. And you nailed it. Like, I don't want anyone to feel like I don't trust them, but I still have that, if you want it done right, do it yourself mentality. And I think it's a little PTSD of like,
yep,
I went broke because people didn't do it my way. And so I'm not going to let go because there's fear in what happens on the other side. And that's not really fair to anybody.
So I asked a question, and you don't have to answer this, but I asked a question of my buddy of mine that was struggling with something similar, in nature. And I said, how much money you got in the bank? And he told me, and I said, well, how much money do you think you need to have in the bank to get comfortable with this kind of decision? Mm-hmm. And he's like, and so the question is, what are you waiting for? And, also, what's the worst thing that happens? You lose 3 loans, 3 borrowers don't get the perfect consult, but you have this epic connected time. You don't even know yourself, completely disconnected. And I can tell you and everybody listening that when you actually give yourself that time and space, you will find so much more creativity. The parts of your brain that come alive are like, the best idea I had that I remember was paddleboarding from Tabarua to Namotu in Fiji. And I'm in between the islands. Of course, I don't have a cell phone with me. And I'm 12 hours away on the time zone or whatever. And I like just download after download of this creative activity happening, because there you are, you're in nature and you're disconnected. So I want to finish up with some tactics because I think a lot of people could probably relate to, I'm an introvert, but I can present. You give me a PowerPoint, you give me a sales aid, you give me a mortgage coach, I can present and teach and teach strategically, and I can bring that technician side of me out. So you have this webinar, people come, you teach. What is your follow-up sequence from there? How do you even identify the 10 you want to work with? How does that all go?
So I have to use events to get over my own insecurities. I want to add value. And then I'll go through the list, right? So I'll know people that are there, right? I probably work with them. There's probably agents that I haven't connected with as often as I should have, right? We've worked together, but we're not like synced up. I'll kind of start there. And then I just try to set those individual meetings. Came with this idea called Remarkable Realtor, where, I think this goes for mortgage and real estate. Most real estate agents don't run a real estate business. They hope things work out. Like, hopefully my friends and family think of me. And I'm like, that's not a business. And I think we do the same thing. So I started meeting with them, and each meeting took an hour and a half, right? And I go, I'm saying the same thing in each of these individual meetings. I'm just going to do an hour and a half to a group, get that out of the way. And now it's like, okay, the follow-up meeting is based on what we talked about. What do you want it to look like? Because I'll help create it, right? As a tactician, I will help you build your buyer presentation, your listing presentation, but it starts with that initial consult. Some people will probably come to the webinar tomorrow and not like what I have to say, right? And so I think I guess this is kind of it's almost like you get them to come to you. Like, I'm sure you have this, like as I envision this in my head, end the webinar, I'm going to get a bunch of that was fantastics, right? Those are the immediate follow-ups. They already like me. So it's like, cool.
And are you talking, so just tactical on the comments, you're watching your Zoom comments. And if people gave you love and adoration, they were speaking up, they were engaging, you're going to go follow up with a phone call or a text message or a DM. What strategically are you going to do?
I'll probably go phone call and text out of the gate.
You're going to phone call and text.
Yeah.
And then I'm Shayla. I came to your webinar. I'm interacting. You call me. What's the next step? Are you now asking for a one-on-one with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how long is that one-on-one?
I would hope for it to be 30 minutes to an hour, no longer.
Okay. And are we talking about process, about what you do and what I do and how you can help me?
Yeah. So based on the webinar, here's the tactics we talked about that you can implement right now. Who do you want to implement those with? Who is your ideal client? What is your ideal price point of homes you want to sell? What is the market? What's the turnover in the market? Now that we know who you're trying to reach, let's go reach them. That's what I'm trying to help people get to. And part of their process, so I don't think we have processes anymore. You either create a client experience or you don't. That's what makes you remarkable, is if you have an experience that people can't help but talk about, you're remarkable. A real estate agent cannot control their client's experience if the lender is different every single time. We become part of their client experience. So here's my portion of Sean that you're going to present in your own authentic way to all of your clients. So I'm taking my little, like, this is what I think is the most amazing thing any buyer can have. And I truly believe that. And here's how you ingrain it into what you're trying to do on your own. So it's not the Sean show. It's let's create your exact marketing plan and client experience. And here's where I integrate into it. Fantastic.
Final question relative to a tactic.
You want a good one that you want to like?
Yeah, because there's like 4. I'm going, how do I just pick one? Tell me the one you have.
So we talked about getting shopped, right? Like my market, super techie people. I love getting shopped because I can tell people, hey, you just open the door to it. So, hey, if you're going to get other quotes, feel free to send those to me. And then I'll build those out in your personalized website, Mortgage Coach, side by side to ensure that you have full disclosure, full transparency in choosing your lender. Because I know they can manipulate fees. I know they can manipulate the rate. I can create distrust in others by telling them to go shop. And then I build trust by going, here's where they misled you. And I didn't. Everybody goes, why do you're coaching your competition. No, I'm not. Like, I'm making me look even better than anyone else because nobody will do that.
That's fantastic. What a good script. Sean, you're the real deal. You're working your ass off. You've got enthusiasm and you love what you do. You're doing it with style, whether you're working in the office or you're working in a van. I wish you more freedom. You do tiny events. So you do teach loan officers. And I know that. Do you have one on the books, or how can people follow up with you or follow you?
Thank you. Yeah. So I realized people were asking me to coach them, and I realized I could teach people more in 2 days with their full attention than I could doing an hour every other week. So I started that event. The next one's April 10th. It'll be the weekend of April 10th. First day is all marketing. Day 2 is all execution. Everyone that's come is like made more money immediately, which I didn't expect. So it's super fun and rewarding. Like, it's really like pour heart and soul into that so you can create and reach the people you're supposed to reach, because we're not all meant to reach the same people.
Fantastic. And one final decision you're going to make from this call or going into 2025 to help you be more of a rainmaker and scale, what is that going to be?
I'm going to let go. I'm going to take your advice and I'm going to start, I think that my teammates know I trust them, but you're probably right. Like, me not letting go is probably insulting. And I'm gonna change that.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Shayla. Thank you.
Yeah, a hot tip, because I was just at a 7-day meditation retreat, is on your iPhone. You can go into the different focus modes. Mm-hmm. You can put yourself in driving mode and you can customize the autoresponder. So people text messaged me and it said, thank you, I'm in a 7-day or I'm in an all-day meditation retreat. And then it sent that text message back. Do that, because then you know at least people know where to go. Leave your phone in the room. Take all photos on your wife's phone. I'm telling you, the freedom of just not even carrying the device will just be mind blown. And I can't wait to hear all about it.
I was with Todd Bookspan and Deborah Bird 2 weeks ago, and we were in the car trying to figure that out. I'm like, it is so dumb that Apple doesn't have an autoresponder for text. And I knew it had the generic driving one. I did not know you could customize that. And you just changed my life. Thank you, Shayla.
Well, thank you for being on the Mortgage Rainmaker podcast, Sean. I'm so excited for everyone to be exposed to your passion. And those that want to come to the Tiny event, I highly recommend it, because you are technical and you do love teaching this stuff. And those that actually take action and implement it can literally have a life-changing result. So thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Shayla.
With you. Take care, bud.
It was fun. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.